Hi. So I thought one of the best things I could do maybe is to start off by telling you a little bit about my health concerns because that's something I really need to get under control. About 20 years ago, I worked in a building that was full of toxic mold, to the point that some rooms had to be completely sealed off, and OSHA came in and hung some fans in the doorways to circulate air, and it was insane. And I was at that point diagnosed with asthma. I'd never even had a respiratory infection until I worked in this building. But there you have it. So I have dealt with asthma for about 30 years now. I have been told that if you have asthma as a child, sometimes you can outgrow that. But if you develop it later in life, well, you've got it. So congratulations. So that's kind of where I am on that. I use Symbicort, a corticosteroid inhaler. I use it twice a day. I use a prescription nasal spray every day because I also develop frequent sinus infections, and my doctor has told me that the nasal spray is one of the best things I can do to avoid those. And I will do anything to avoid those because they're miserable. And if I don't catch them in time, they move into a respiratory infection, and those have moved into bronchitis and even pneumonia. So I have to stop that because the only thing we have found that will cut my sinus infections is Cipro, but that's not a safe medication. That's not a safe antibiotic. And the last time I took it, I actually developed an allergy to it, and I broke out in a rash that, it was not good. So now I had to just try to avoid them altogether because nothing works on them. And then I'm going to end up with having to take a Z-Pack because it's going to get in my lungs or in my bronchial tubes, and it's a hot mess. So I do have asthma. Also, I'm on a very low dose blood pressure pill. That was more for me. My doctor wasn't really concerned so much about my blood pressure, but I am that person. I am the person who is very high strung, and I panic about everything. Not necessarily everything about my health, but the blood pressure issue does run in my family, and I didn't want any part of that. So my doctor just said, we need to scrape you off the ceiling. And to do so, she put me on the lowest dose losartan that she possibly could. Probably working more as a placebo than anything, but that's okay. It is what it is. So that's what I was already taking. Every day, Symbicort inhaler. Every day, nasal spray. Every day, 25 milligrams of losartan. Also, I have a nebulizer because while my asthma is currently under control, it is triggered by its exercise-induced, environmentally induced, and stress-induced. So anything that can trigger asthma, I got it. I'm so blessed. But it's been pretty well under control. I need my nebulizer. I maybe use it once or twice a year. Right now we have a lot of smoke from some Canadian wildfires or something out there. So I had to pull it out today because my inhaler wasn't really cutting it. I do have an albuterol rescue inhaler as well, but I hadn't used it in months until today. It is what it is. So I have the asthma issue, and I have the low dose blood pressure meds. Now, in 2020, I was very blessed during COVID to be able to work virtually. I, at the time, was significantly overweight, plus my asthma, plus the blood pressure issues. I was terrified all the time. Also, high strung, terrified all the time. I didn't see anybody except a couple of friends that I would see, and we would sit at a distance, or because I worked from home and saw no one, I would go stay with my sister, go see my family because they weren't leaving the house either, and I would work from her house, from my sister's house. But I made the decision that I did not like feeling like I was, at a very high risk of the idea of COVID, because I was terrified of it. Terrified. People kept talking about ventilators. Well, I am scared to death of needles. Like petrified of needles. Like a phobia you would not believe about needles. It's got its own backstory. But I decided, you know what? I need to just lose the weight. So I put myself on a strict 1 meal a day, low carb. And honestly, it was not hard. I wasn't hungry. I would get hungry about 12:30. Well, my feeding window I set was from 1 to 2. And I drank nothing but water except during that hour. During that hour, I would let myself have a Diet Coke or, some tea or whatever, but it was nothing but water otherwise. And I lost a significant amount of weight. And here's the thing. When I was heavy, I didn't feel bad. I had lots of energy. I walk, and I've got 3 friends who do this with me. We walk at least 1 intentional mile every day. And I'm over 1,600 consecutive days at this point. It's not something that we miss. We do not miss this. It doesn't matter what else is going on. We walk this 1 intentional mile. So during COVID, I kind of picked that up. I would walk more than that. I felt great. Now, again, heavy? No, it is not healthy. I felt good though. I felt fine, but the weight got in the way of me doing things that I wanted to do. I wasn't comfortable. I didn't feel like myself. And again, I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do. So I decided I was going to lose the weight, and I did. And I felt good. And I looked much better. And I know it improved my health. Well, then in probably January of 2022, I just started not feeling well. Now, I was under a significant amount of stress, and I was 50. So I figured this is just me going through menopause, and it's my stress. I had somebody sleeping on my couch. That's always stressful. I was working a lot of hours, and work was not easy. I also was working on another degree, and I pushed through that degree pretty quickly. So lots and lots of stress. And so I kind of attributed a lot of this to stress and age. Everybody knows that one of the symptoms of diabetes is frequent urination and thirst. That's also something that goes along with menopause, in case you were not aware of that. So I kind of discounted it. Well, my legs were achy. They started being achy. And I was having cramps in my legs. And I'm like, well, also goes along with menopause. Didn't really think much about it. Just kind of figured I'm 50. Welcome to it. But my resting heart rate has always been in the low to mid 60s. And in about a month, according to my Fitbit, it went from the low to mid 60s to like 80. That's where my concern came in, my resting heart rate, that you don't mess with your heart rate. So I went to the doctor, and this was in May, maybe, of 2022. And that I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. Now, it kind of caught me off guard because it would not have shocked me when I was 60 pounds heavier. Wouldn't have shocked me in the least. But usually losing weight helps reverse that. So it really caught me off guard. But I've learned since then, stress contributes to it. Insulin resistance contributes to it. And I've always carried most of my weight in my midsection, and that's kind of a thing. But even when I was a little kid, you can see pictures of me, I was very active. I was not chunky, but any weight I had was going to be in my stomach. It's just family trait, I guess. So I went on metformin. My cholesterol was up too, which I found out at the time is also a thing that goes along with type 2 diabetes. So my doctor wanted to put me on Crestor for my cholesterol. I didn't want to do that. I was like, man, that is just one too many pills. Because I already use Symbicort, already using nasal spray, already have that little 25 milligram losartan for my blood pressure. Now I'm going to be on metformin. So she gave it to me, but I only maybe took it 3 times. Well, I went back in for a 3-month checkup. My A1C hadn't really dropped any significant amount. But even without taking the Crestor, because I was on the metformin, my cholesterol had already dropped 50 points. And so she kind of doubled up my metformin, put me on Jardiance, and I started taking the Crestor. So I went back in 3 months later, and my A1C was at where she wanted it to be for, after 3 months. It was at a much more acceptable level, and my cholesterol was normal. So that was good. Now, we've been trying for a few months for me to get back in for another checkup, but, things were going on at work and I would have to reschedule. Then the last time I was supposed to go, she wasn't in, and so we had to reschedule. So it's in August that I go back. Now, I finally bought a blood glucose monitor. I'm scared to death of all things related to needles and whatever, so it took me a long time to actually use it after I bought it. But using it is when I discovered I have something called dawn phenomenon. And if you don't know what that is, evidently, especially if you deal with some insulin resistance, overnight, like in the early morning hours, your body will do a dump of cortisol and adrenaline, and that will raise your blood sugar. Now, if you're not insulin resistant, you're not diabetic or whatever, it'll raise your blood sugar level, but it really won't be an issue because it does go back down. But mine is going up more than I want it to, but I didn't know that until I bought the blood glucose monitor. So my goal right now is I'm really working to drink lots of water, because water helps to stabilize your blood sugar, if you didn't know that. To really get away from a lot of the carbs. I'm eating a lot more salads. I love salad, but I hate putting one together. Like, I'm a salad bar girl. If it's all out there, I'm all in. But just for my house, I don't want to dice up everything, So I end up eating boring salads, and then I don't want them. But I'm really trying to eat more of that. Like I said, water, because that's a big thing. I already don't drink sugary drinks. I do drink diet sodas and things, which will still toy with your blood sugar some. So I'm trying to really limit those. I'm trying to walk more, move more, because exercise helps as well. I need to get into some strength training. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder, but building muscle does help. Strength training does also help with blood sugar levels. So that's, we'll see in August what the numbers say. I can tell when my blood sugar has been up too much, because I don't feel well and I don't have any energy and my eyesight gets a little wonky. I did have a diabetic retinopathy exam, maybe February-ish, and thank God it did come back with no evidence of retinopathy, but I really need to make sure I keep everything under control, because the treatment for retinopathy, first of all, you can't reverse the damage, but second of all, it's like shots in the eyeballs. No, thank you. Again, afraid of needles, sure don't want one in the eye. So, I've got to try to keep things under control. I have a great support system. I'm still learning, very much so, but I'm seriously considering going back to intermittent fasting, not the 1 meal a day, but maybe like 16-8, where I can find my meals. I do 2 meals and it's in an 8-hour window. Intermittent fasting is supposed to help, let your body burn through the glucose and everything. I don't know. We'll see how that works. So anyway, that's kind of my health situation in a nutshell. I am still continuing to work on losing weight because, you know, I still have some weight around my midsection, but again, that's kind of where it always is going to be on me. But the more weight I lose, the better it is for my diabetes. So I'm in a much better place, you know, with my weight, but doesn't matter. I still need to lose some more. Still need to lose about 15 or 20 pounds. So there you go. All right. Now you know kind of where I'm starting with my health, and we'll see what happens. Have a good day.